Go ahead.
Okay, there's a lot that can be asked on this model aside from the fact that it looks like a rack of ribs that is quite tasty. You have your spinal column here, so you have the entire portion of the spinal column that is the solid portion. You have the conus modularis?
Yeah.
I believe so, conus modularis, which is this cone here, and you have the filum terminale where it comes to the ends. This portion here is the quada equina, meaning the horse's tail, which refers to its whisker-shaped portion. At this point, the central canal opens up into the middle of this and it's free to flow out. So this is where the cerebrospinal fluid exits the central canal and enters the subarachnoid space where it flows back up around the brain. Now you have your enlargements here. You have your cervical enlargements, you have your lumbar enlargements. They're kind of hard to see on the model, but they are there, so be aware that he may be asking for those. You have your intercostal nerves, you have all of your spinal nerves throughout the entire thing cutting across. That's what all of this represents, because even though these are ribs, those on the inside, those are portions of the actual spinal vertebrae. So all of these are going to be your spinal nerves. Now, you also have your brachial plexus here, which you can ask about. So you have to know your levels of them, where you have the roots, you have the trunks, you have the branches, and you have the limbs. So you have to know all that. You'll need to know you'll need to know your superior, middle, and inferior trunks, and you'll need to know your branches, I believe, which are going to be your superior, inferior, and posterior. So,
Chords?
chords, thank you. Yeah, you'll have to know the chords where you have superior, inferior, and posterior. So you have to know those. You also have your paravertebral ganglions coming along here. And these are going up and down. These are not the same as your dorsal root ganglions. Your dorsal root ganglions are at the back and they're in line with the nerves coming in and out. You can't see them very well on this model. If you were to represent them, you would probably be looking at those orange bulges. But it's not represented well, and you're probably not going to be asked that. So know the difference, that these are not your dorsal roots. These are your paravertebral ganglions. And they're also known as your sympathetic chain ganglia. And you'll notice they go all the way around in a circle, and they would come back up if the model were completed on the other side. Your sympathetic chain ganglia is where you get your sympathetic stimulation, and that hits the whole body all at once, which is why they're all connected to each other. Whereas your dorsal root ganglion is just sensory information coming in. You don't actually see any of your parasympathetic innervation in any of the ganglias whatsoever, because it's not done through the ganglia like that. Instead, it's all done through the vagus nerve, so it's also called vagal stimulation. Now, down in your lumbar plexus, you can also see your major nerves coming down here. This is your sciatic nerve. This is your iliac nerve, I believe. Yes, the femoral, because it comes in front of.
It goes on your
Yes.
And this is your sacral right here?
Well, this is your sacrum, so this is going to be your
Or it's
sacral
off.
plexus.
Sorry.
This will be your sacral plexus, but this is going to be the sciatic nerve.
I'm sorry. That's
yeah.
what I meant to say.
Yes. So you can be asked about all of those things. Yes,
Okay.
that's your femoral.
So, this is your superior, middle, and inferior trunks.
Superior, inferior, and posterior cords.
Okay.
At this point, you're already looking at the armpit area.
There's medial, lateral, and posterior cords. It's medial,
Yes,
lateral.
medial, lateral, and posterior. So these are your cords, medial, lateral, and posterior. Yes, you're right, thank you. And this is your superior, middle, and inferior trunks. So your trunks are these three, but at this point they've separated out into the cords. So you have to change your orientation, because now you're actually in the arm. You're in the armpit area, and that's part of the axillary. body, not the, or not axillary. That's part of the appendicular body, not the axillary. So it's no longer superior, inferior, it's medial, lateral.
Okay.
So
The whole
you have
thing
to
is the
understand.
brachial plexus too?
Yeah, the whole thing is the brachial plexus. Okay, now, coming up here, you can also see your cranial nerves, which you have cranial nerve 1, 2, let's see, where's 3, 4, 5 is the big one on the side, 6, 7, 8 down there, 9 and 10 underneath that, 11 and...
Isn't this 11 your accessory?
11, yes, 11,
then
and these are
hypoglossal?
12. So 11 is down here, and these are 12. So they're all in order, same as the brain, but it looks a little different, so get comfortable seeing both of them and just knowing how they relate to each other and counting down and back up. That's actually about it on this model.
Anything else?
Oh no, I was just like going over.
Thank you.
The femoral and the sciatic on that one?
Yeah, you have the
And the
femoral, you
sciatic?
have the sciatic.
Can you see the phrenic cranial nerve on there? Or cervical nerve? Cervical. Where's cervical plexus? Where's the cervical plexus?
Yeah, this is the cervical plexus.
And then where's the phrenic nerve?
Just up here? Is that what you're pointing to?
So this is a phrenic nerve, isn't
No,
it
there's
right
just-
above your superior trunk?
Yeah, I think it's this one, if he's going to ask.
Phrenic nerve?
I believe so, if he's going to ask. It's the only one that's going to come down and hit your diaphragm. So you kind of have to look for a nerve that is not duplicated on the other side.
So you can see that one, and then you can see the femoral, but you can't see any of the other ones, like the musculocutaneous and all that, right?
Not really, no.
Because those go in the arm. Those are all in here.
Yeah, they're all farther down. I mean, this only goes to the cords. Everything comes off of the cords.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you go over one more thing?
Yeah.
Thank you.